I think I'm starting to record. Great. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel, My Compound Life. I'm Jonathan. Good to see you all again. So welcome to another episode where I'll just drive around and you hop on my car with me. We're gonna go somewhere. Anyway, what we're gonna talk about today, of course, it's gonna be my compound life related, but at the same time, I'm gonna talk a little bit about some exciting news on Bitcoin in the UK, right? Especially on the topic of Bitcoin ETP. Okay, so as of Monday, recently, like 3-4 days ago, the asset manager's website showed that the iShare Bitcoin ETP had been listed on the London Stock Exchange. And according to the Sunday Times, the product, which is structured as a Bitcoin-linked security, will allow investors to buy fractions of Bitcoin through units starting at about $11. Okay, so ETP is designed to mirror Bitcoin prices while trading within a regulated framework, so allowing investors to participate in the crypto market through traditional brokerage accounts. It allows UK-based retail investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin without directly holding the asset or trading it on the crypto exchange. Okay, so BlackRock is one of the most successful issuer of Bitcoin-linked ETP in the US. You can definitely see that. And according to Social Value, the company's iShare Bitcoin Exchange Traded Funds ETF has net asset of over $85 billion, right? So who else are issuing Bitcoin and crypto ETP? So just to name a few, we've got BlackRock, iShare Bitcoin ETP, 21 Shares, Wisdom3, Bitwise, Invesco, and CoinShares. Okay, just to name a few. Right, so this is exciting because obviously in the UK, you know, it's giving retail investors, you know, like yourself, myself, to have the ability to have exposure into Bitcoin and other crypto assets, right? So that's very, very exciting. But at the same time, so this is very exciting, and why is this exciting? Because at present we are still in the Bitcoin bull run. Okay, you know, with Bitcoin price recently at 110K US dollar this morning. I think about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, Bitcoin was at its all-time high of 126,000 US dollars. So this is very, very, very exciting time ahead, right? Of course, I've maybe referred back to my prior video about, you know, Bitcoin cycle, the 4-year cycle. Maybe that's also to take into consideration. And of course, it's exciting because we are obviously still in the bull run, with institutions like BlackRock issuing Bitcoin ETP. This will definitely encourage more retail investors to come in and invest. So this kind of reminds me of gold, right? Just a couple of days ago, or last week, I think it was last week, where we have started to see a lot of videos on TikTok, on X, where people are actually queuing up to buy physical gold, right? Going to the shops to buy physical gold. And a couple of days later, gold price plummeted, right? I think it dropped more than 5 to 8 or even 10% by now, right? So we're obviously looking at the gold price movement. You know, gold price has actually gone through double top, right? So usually in a technical analysis, what it really means when an asset price going into the double top, essentially it will start to go down, right? So that's something to be mindful of if you are thinking to invest into gold right now, thinking that, oh, you know, it's the time, it's the time of entry because it's the dip, right? So potentially for gold price, it might go down even further, right? So similar to Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin obviously had a recent double top because it topped around 124k. I think about 2 months ago, and then a few weeks ago it topped about 126k. So, but having said that, you know, there are still a lot of external macro catalysts that we believe would still push the Bitcoin price higher up. But anyway, today's episode isn't talking about my prediction on Bitcoin price, right? However, is to talk a little bit about Bitcoin ETP, Bitcoin exchange traded product in the UK, right? So it sounds to me that once this gets rolled out for the retail investors, right, we're gonna have a lot of retail investors coming in to buy, right? So potentially, it may push the price up a little bit, right? FYI, I think UK is still a very, very small market for this kind of investment vehicle. So it's, you know, introducing this in the UK market, I don't personally think it will have a very huge impact on the price movement, right? At the same time, for someone living in the UK, I think it's always great because it gives retail the opportunity to get exposure into such a great asset class, right? Bitcoin. And I do also think that Bitcoin will have longer time frame getting into this asset class investment, which gives us more longevity in terms of, you know, our investment portfolio. But anyway, should you actually get into investing into ETP, right? So depends on your investment mindset, right? So I truly believe and have conviction on Bitcoin. So I think if my investment horizon is for that longer period of time, right? 5 years, 8 years, 20 years, right? I think there's no better time to enter than now, right? Because ETP price are rather low, and as long as you kind of DCA in, right, I think, you know, it will give you a very, very good return in a few months' time or in the many years to come, right? If you are speculative investors that just want to get in, and gain some good percentage uplift, I think yes, getting into a Bitcoin ETP now will probably make sense too, right? But if you are an investor that gets in now and hoping that, you know, your investment portfolio will continuously increase without much fluctuation, this is where I need to manage your expectation a little bit, right? Because for the time being, Bitcoin price is already at a very high price, right? And many investors, many OG investors, or many Bitcoin holders that has held their asset for many years, they are now in the process of exiting, right? And might not be the time to enter, right? So that's why with a lot of such new retails coming in, you know, maybe the Bitcoin price would sustain for a short period of time, but at the same time, be prepared that, you know, be prepared that this will not hold for too long of a period, right? So that's why I constantly chat about for investment in Bitcoin, it's always for the longer term, and it always makes sense for, you know, to invest through DCA or pound cost average, PCA. Okay, so that's why in a way I'm kind of comparing this to gold, right? When investment opportunity starts to open up for retail, essentially retail are kind of like the exit liquidity for a lot of other big institutions investors, right? Because someone like myself, I'm kind of in the process of exiting, and I'm kind of seeing new retail investors coming in, and I'm kind of like, you know what, it might not be the best time to enter right now. But having said that, every one of you guys need to start from somewhere, right? And usually a lot of new investor gets exposure to new asset class during the boom time, right? And very likely they forget about it in the downtime, right? They dare not to touch it because you know, because the asset price has gone down by so much, right? So yeah, I think as an investor, I think as long as you are investing or having exposure to Bitcoin proxy, the Bitcoin ETP, it will always be good, right? But mind you, you want to do so for a long period of time, you know, invest for a longer time frame, right? Yeah, I think that's what I want to share today, because it's definitely exciting for a lot of people, but at the same time I do want to warn you guys in terms of when to come in and when not to enter the market, right? Also, I think the last thing before I end the video, I just want to chat a little bit about holding Bitcoin versus holding a Bitcoin ETP, right? Of course they're different, right? Of course, you know, as an investor you get exposure to, you know, the Bitcoin asset, right? So that's good, right? But at the same time, there are differences when you're kind of holding Bitcoin versus holding a Bitcoin ETP, right? So from a holding side of consideration, right? Or holding or ownership side of consideration, holding Bitcoin definitely gives you full ownership of the asset, right? So it's a little bit like buying gold or buying the paper gold, right? So some of you guys might decide to go in to a physical location and buy a piece of gold bar, a bullion or something, right? So that's exactly the same as buying and holding Bitcoin, right? So buying Bitcoin ETP, it's a little bit like buying paper Bitcoin. You don't exactly hold it, right? So if you're in the mindset that knows that Bitcoin, there will be, you know, I think the final last Bitcoin that gets minted, which by the way, there are only 21 million Bitcoin available to be mined, we're currently around 19 million, right? So there will be approximately another 100 plus years in order that for that final Bitcoin to be mined or to be minted, right? So if you do have conviction and believe that this asset class will go up in the longer time frame, and you want to keep such asset class, like a little bit like my grandma, she bought gold many years back, and then she passed that gold to my dad, and then he obviously passed it on to me, and that's stashed up in a bank somewhere. So if you're in the mindset of buying asset that you can keep and retain for a long period of time, maybe buying a real Bitcoin really makes sense as opposed to buying an ETP product, right? And from a liquidity point of view, right, obviously holding Bitcoin gives you the ability to transfer it easily and quickly, right? So if one day you want to pass that Bitcoin to your family, to your kids and so forth, it's easy to do so, right? Because you kind of don't have to go through that many intermediaries, right? Like holding a Bitcoin ETP. So that's the whole purpose of Bitcoin and crypto. It essentially is to take out all of the intermediaries, like the central bank, the bank ownership, contracts, etc. So that's why if you want something liquid, something that you can easily transfer, of course, owning a Bitcoin can easily permits you to do so, as opposed to owning a Bitcoin ETP. And of course, there are other considerations, like if you want to make transfer of your Bitcoin immediately, you can do so, right? Like if you rely on your Bitcoin ETP, very likely you cannot buy and sell 24/7, right? You obviously need to do so within the time when the market is open, right? When the stock market is open. So that's to take into consideration too. But anyhow, I still strongly believe that this is a good thing for the UK, especially giving UK citizens to have that exposure into Bitcoin through Bitcoin ETP proxy. Get yourself into it, but at the same time, if you do have conviction on the Bitcoin asset, right, I would definitely think holding Bitcoin in the long term would gives you much more flexibility than buying the Bitcoin ETP. So that's my thought. That's it for now, and please like and subscribe if you find this content helpful. I'm kind of new to all of this video content creation, and thanks for listening in. My channel is My Compound Life. I'm trying to create more content. Any likes or subscribe would definitely motivate me to make more of this content, and I'll see you in the next video.